Hi.
Hi. Today we're going to be drinking a new tea, a new old tea. We just started offering it. It's the 2003 Dehong Sheng.
Yeah.
And it's a dry stored, Kunming stored Sheng varietal from Dehong 2003. And, this is one of those, this is the varietal of tea that's often called in Yunnan, Sheng cha. And most of it's from the Dehong area, but there's also some that grows in Mangshi and even in Jingu as well. Yeah. But this tea, when it's young, is super, super bitter. And I've actually had complaints from people who bought the new versions because we press the new versions of this tea as well. And
Yeah.
Okay, fast.
It's very.
So anyways, so when it's super young, I've actually had people say that like they thought there was something wrong with the tea and that it was completely undrinkable, and it is very, very bitter when it's young. But it's also one of those teas that actually ages, I think, faster than the Asamaka teas. So it's a very interesting tea. We've offered quite a few different types of Sheng cha. You can find them under the site under purple tea, in the purple tea subcategory called Wild Tree Sheng Pu-erh. And we also offer some black teas that are made from this varietal as well. 2 from Dehong and 1 from Fengqing. So a very unique varietal, and one that is completely unique to Yunnan as far as I know. And actually doesn't even grow in most tea growing areas in Yunnan. It's a very special tea.
So actually, this year, the spring, we got the new one.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, this one is not like too bitter.
Right, and that it also is worth mentioning that there's 2 types actually.
Yeah, one is a sweet one, and one is bitter one.
And they look exactly the same. Yeah. And they can grow side by side. So you have one bush here and one bush here. And this bush is a sweet one and this one's a bitter one.
Yeah.
And most of the stuff really is actually wild growing, uncultivated, and very, very clean tea as well.
Did you feel like a little bit like fu cha?
Oh yeah, it does have. Yeah, you're right. It does have kind of a fu cha smell to it. Yeah. I love fu cha too.
And this tea is very dry storaged.
Nice, very sweet, and it has a little bit of like a anshu, like a eucalyptus taste to it, a little bit. Wouldn't you say? Yeah, we also sell a 2004 Dehong Sheng that is more wet stored. Mm-hmm. That was stored in Dehong for quite a few years more. This one I believe was not stored in Dehong really at all after its production. It was brought to Kunming. But the other one we offer has some wet storage. It's light, mild wet storage, but it's comes out with a little bit more of a red tea soup than this one does. This one's more like a copper. It's definitely moving towards that red color, but not there yet.
Yeah, that's pretty. And we only have 173 bricks.
173?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. We bought the whole lot when we came across them because we liked them, and that the price is quite affordable too. I believe it's $60 or just under $60 for a 250 gram brick, which is pretty good for a 15-year-old tea. Again, it's not like a hyper aged tea, but it is well aged, and especially for this kind of tea, a Sheng tea, it's very nice. It's just like a really good amount of aging. Although actually, even though these are really bitter when they're young, once you get to about, well, some of them are. I think this one actually was probably super bitter when it was young, which might be one of the reasons why it's still, today, we were able to find, that batch of it, maybe because people were just like...
People can't drink when it's too young.
Well, I mean, that's how it is. I mean, that's the whole Pu-erh thing. And I think that's sometimes people forget that to get aged Pu-erh, you have to create and invest in, new Pu-erh, fresh, young.
Actually, they found this in the warehouse.
Oh, so maybe they lost it?
Yes.
Yeah. That's another reason teas often end up aged. And we've experienced that too. You have hundreds of different kinds of Pu-erh tea in your warehouse, and suddenly, you're moving stuff around and you come across this box and nobody knows what it is. And then they send a picture and ask me or you, and we remember. We're like, oh wow, that's cool. That that would have sold out years ago if we had known that it existed. But at some point, it was sold out. We thought it was sold out, and then there it was. So
we probably have a lot of tea in the warehouse we don't sell, and we don't know.
This steeping was much more textured. I think it's really opening up now. Yeah, it's really sweet, and it's like kind of spicy. It has a lot of food type things going on with it. But yeah, I mean, that's the really wonderful thing about Pu-erh is that, and doing business in Pu-erh. I mean, there's always downsides. One of the downsides of doing business in Pu-erh is that it's very money intensive, cash intensive. You invest, and then it's not liquid. Like a stock or. But the advantage is that, the tea increases in value and good tea increases in value and increases in complexity over time. And so you don't have to hurry. Like if we were doing business only in green tea, it would be very difficult because, you get to the end of the year and it's very hard to convince anybody, even at a hefty discount, to buy green tea. Yeah. So Pu-erh, like they say, 越陈越香.
Yeah.
越陈越香 is like with age, it becomes more aromatic and good. So
also in China, we say Pu-erh is a 可以喝的古董. 古董.
It's like a drinkable antique. But yeah, I mean, 2003, that was a long time ago. I mean, that was a long time ago. Still getting that a little bit of like a eucalyptus taste, like a herbal taste. Very sweet. And the other thing I noticed about this tea is it's very strong.
Yes, it's very strong.
Very, very strong. And that's one thing about Sheng tea that I think.
I don't know why it doesn't give me. It feel like it's different. It's very, very different than the Pu-erh.
Yeah, well, some people have called this. I call it Camellia sinensis Dehongensis, which I've seen something online on a Chinese site that classifies this varietal as that. But it is a very distinct varietal from just a pure Assamica, typical Pu-erh varietal. Is it related to Pu-erh? Absolutely, it is. It's a camellia plant, but it's very, very different.
Yeah.
The feeling of it is very different. Some people say that it's the prototypical, the kind of original, the progenitor, the grandfather of Assamica or tea, all tea, because it's believed that all tea comes originally from Yunnan. Tea, and I say camellia. But whatever it is, the other thing that I've come to understand about this tea, and that I've seen as well, is that it's not a tea that bugs attack will go after, and considerably less than Assamica.
Maybe it's too bitter.
Well, exactly, and this is one of the reasons why these teas are never sprayed or should not be sprayed, because there's no need to. Not to mention the fact that there's no emphasis with Pu-erh. There should be no real emphasis on how the leaf looks, as long as it's not overly oxidated, browned from oxidation, wilting. But like this tea, my understanding is that the bugs don't touch it, which is really interesting.
So it's amazing. Like when it's new, it's so bitter.
Yeah.
And with the age, now you can't really taste much the bitterness.
No, not really at all. And the other thing about, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Okay. It just made me think. The other thing about this tea is it's not astringent. 涩，它后面就是不涩，它就是甜。It goes and maybe a little bit of bitterness up front, and even with the younger ones, there's bitterness in the front. But then as you drink it more, the bitterness fades and you get sweetness, and there's not really much astringency towards the end. Like a pure Asamaka tea, especially like a plantation tea, you drink it. It's got a lot going on. It's got bitterness. It's got astringency. And then on the tail end, you get sweetness and astringency that kind of gradually just kind of goes out.
Yeah.
And with plantation teas, often you'll find that you'll get, towards the end, it'll just kind of I guess you could say, kind of collapse into astringency. Whereas these teas don't do that, which is really interesting. And I think it's probably just because of the what's in them, the makeup of the tea is different. The other thing worth mentioning is the black teas that are made from this varietal are just really, really fantastic. I remember the first time, drinking those and remember asking our friend from Dehong if they could make a black tea from this varietal. I'm like, well, could you make a black tea from this varietal? And he was like, yeah, well, why not? So, that was back in, I think, 2011. Tried it. It was great. And then in 2012, we actually started, he started making that tea consistently for us from this varietal, but processing it as black tea.
Yeah.
You can find those teas on our site, Wild Tree Purple Black Tea of Dehong, and the Light Roast Wild Tree Purple Black Tea of Dehong. So there's two styles of processing for the same tea. You got it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah, the black tea also with age is very good.
Yeah. Yeah, those age wonderfully. It's interesting because they almost have like an oolong kind of character to them as well. They age wonderfully as well. So this is Yunnan teas in general. I mean, Yunnan is it's got such a huge variety. I mean, I believe that Yunnan has the largest variety of wild mushrooms of any place in the world. It's got all these varieties of tea and sub-varieties of tea and all these different regions with all these different, with all these different teas growing and different ways of processing and different outcomes because of the altitude and the soil and all this. And it's really an incredible, heritage that is going on in Yunnan, and this is just one of those kind of teas that's always just surprises me, and being able to drink it. I mean, it's not ultra. I would say it's considerably more rare than a Samaka tea, but there's not ultra rare either. They
special. Smells good.
I just don't really know how to describe this taste. It's very full. It's very viscous, and it's very and it's thick. It's very viscous. It's not drying. The young ones, when they're super young, if they're the bitter ones, can be a little bit drying at times, but and the chachi can be overly aggressive, like kind of almost unpleasant, or actually can be quite unpleasant if you drink too much of it.
I remember we drink the spring one, the new one, It's the new one is very fishy smell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're funky. They're really strange teas when they're young. But if you know, I mean, we've been sourcing the Dehong one from somebody for so many years now, like almost 10 years, more than 10 years, that, you know, we know what the outcome is going to be. We know we can say, hey, I'm drinking this today. It's fresh. It's a week old. And it's like, whoa. But I know what it's going to become. And that just takes experience, you know. Without that experience and without that connection with knowing, okay, this is the same grower, you know, you don't know how it's going to come out unless you have that connection. But, you know, I know. I mean, how many years? I mean, I've been drinking these teas Sheng teas for about 15 years now. So,
yeah.
And, you know, I know how they're gonna age.
Yeah.
So.
And we can't just hold it till, you know, when it's ready to drink, when it's perfect time to drink.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, we are lucky to find these. But, you know, that's the thing is with inflation and the cost of everything going up all the time, especially in China, it's always better to invest when you can.
Yeah.
You know, you can always hope to find some good aged tea that's not expensive like this one.
But you have to, when, you know, you have to tell, you have to, when you see lucky, you can.
You have to act quickly.
Yeah.
When you have an opportunity. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes. Sorry, I'm kind of tea drunk. This tea is very strong.
A lot of oils. You can feel the oils in the mouth.
Yeah. It's really giving me that fu cha feeling. The mouth feel is like really like fu cha.
It's a little stronger though than fu cha, I think.
Yeah.
It's a little more sticky. Fu cha is kind of more like this one, the feeling in the mouth. It's like a cooling feeling as well, which is interesting, which kind of brings me back to the eucalyptus, the anshu. Has a little bit of that character to it.
So push it a little bit.
Yeah, but this tea is really quite strong. Yeah.
Yes, it's very good. I think you guys should try.
Yeah. And there's other ones as well. We've got quite a few. We have a whole section on the site actually. And I did just create a sampler.
Yeah.
A Yesheng cha sampler. Mm-hmm. Just the other day for the for Yesheng raw pours. As well. So check that out. We'll add some links to the video, to the sampler, to this tea, obviously, and then the 2004, which was the wetter storage one that I mentioned for those who are interested. Yeah, tea just keeps marching on and on and on. I mean, I don't know how many steeps we've done. We haven't done a ton, but it's really hasn't really gone down much. It's changed a little bit, but it's definitely not weakened. I feel like I've weakened. Before this, we drank the 2011 Yunnan sourcing chachi. And
that was strong.
Yeah, that was really strong too, so. Okay. To be careful not to burn myself. I get too excited when I have a cup of tea in my hand, and I tend to.
Now it's like more sweet.
Yeah. This is one of those teas too that I would say people that are looking to experience tea drunkenness, and this isn't something I really like advertise or like I don't really market teas as like this tea is going to get you drunk, you know. But this tea I think is one of the Sheng pours that's more likely that you would feel kind of like a tea drunk effect. Yeah. It's just noticeable to me a little bit more, maybe because I doubled up because we drank the chachi before, but I think this one's has all of it all on its own. It's quite strong. So.
Wow. How much you use?
7 grams.
Okay.
It's like normal.
Yes.
Are you totally fruct?
I guess.
We've taken to using the word fruit instead of the other word.
Lucy is very sensitive.
Yeah. Lucy doesn't like that word. Just like something will happen and I'll be like, and then Lucy will be like all, you know, because when I get upset, Lucy's like, what's wrong? And she'll come over and put her head on me. And so, but now poor girl is traumatized. So now we use the word fruit.
Yeah. She don't care about fruit.
Just like in Battlestar Galactica, they use frack.
Frack.
Yeah. Oh, maybe in a few years when we've completely forgotten all the plot twists of Battlestar Galactica, we can watch it again.
Yeah. Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
When we don't
When that first came out, we would stay up until like 2, 3 in the morning, like watching, just one more episode. One more.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, don't drink this with empty stomach.
Yeah.
It's very strong, very powerful.
Well, should we wrap it up? This tea is going to keep going. But we are going to wrap this up probably because we need to eat.
Yeah, no, I need making food.
But we're going to have a snack before we get to making food. So anyways, yeah, check this tea out. Subscribe. Leave comments down below. And thanks for watching. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day.